Good afternoon. You've joined us on Aloha United We Stand, and I'm your host, Ethan Allen, filling in here for regular host Jay Fidel. Today on Aloha United We Stand, we have Rosie Rowe with us. Welcome, Rosie.
Welcome, thank you.
Good to have you here. Rosie is with the Learning Disabilities Association of Hawaii's Parent Training and Information Center, I believe. I got all that right?
Yep, that's correct.
Excellent. So it's a good organization, and we'll be talking about it. But before we get into that, let's maybe find out a little bit about you and how did you get involved in this whole end of things?
I have been at the agency now for 11 years. Prior to that, I worked at a private nonprofit school for adults with developmental disabilities. I took a break from that after being there for 17 years to raise my youngest child now, who's now 20, and returned to the field of developmental disabilities in this capacity as advocacy, speaking for families, helping families understand the special education in Hawaii is really complicated. So I thought it would be a perfect opportunity for me to help families understand what's available, whether or not they can get the services for their children, what kind of services they would be requesting. So I've been doing that now for 11 years. I'm now the education and training coordinator there, so I do a lot of the writing of curriculum, making sure all of our materials and research is vetted. I have to make sure that families understand the information. So there's a lot of, scaling down some of the content because it can be very technical. And then I do a lot of the training for our staff so that they can go out and do the same.
Excellent. Actually, it's not dissimilar to what I try to do on my regular Likeable Science show, where I talk with scientists and try to help them sort of translate their science into a format that's accessible and appealing to a broader audience. So you're to some extent doing that same kind of work.
Yes.
Yeah, and it is tricky to do that. But with yours, particularly you've got an audience who is probably very deeply in need of those that kind of assistance, because raising children with developmental disabilities or special needs is a struggle always, and knowing sort of all the resources that are out there, what are the good resources from the not good resources, what are their options, how can they best take advantage of them. This is all incredibly valuable kind of work that you do.
Yes, it is. And normally in a typical day at our office is we receive many phone calls of families who are distraught. They're unhappy about the circumstances they're in their public schools. They believe that they have children who have unique needs and they don't know how to get those. They've tried it on their own. They've seemed to have failed. So they contact us to figure it out for them. And so unfortunately for us, we receive a lot of phone calls of just parents who are really hurting. They don't understand what just happened to them. They may have just received a diagnosis of a disability that they are refusing to believe even existed. They have entered into a school and sharing this information about their child with a disability isn't being received very well. They expected a certain reaction to them revealing that their child has a disability to the professional who's at the school, and they don't receive the same response. So it really it plays a lot on what they've perceived just happened. And many times we end up having to really unravel some of the mysterious communication that could have happened, and maybe the school really didn't intend to receive that information that way, but that's how it's being perceived. And so they want to know how they can make it better. I know that many families in this state, parents, dads, moms, They're only looking for a solution. They're not looking to fight with anybody. They're not looking to make things uncomfortable in the school. They just want to have an answer.
Right.
And they look to the school for that answer. And when they don't get it, then they're confused, and then they're upset, and then they call us, and then they want us to go in and fix it and fight and argue and become upset with them. And we just can't do it. As an agency, we can't.
No, you indeed, you're dealing with parents who have a huge sort of, oftentimes a big emotional stake in this whole business. They are, as you say, deeply wrought up in it sometimes, and there is miscommunication, and your role to some extent is to help translate back and forth between the parents about their needs, their desires for their kid, and the school's interests, constraints, and resources, right? What they can, what they can't do, why they're doing the thing they're doing.
Right.
You know, and so that's,
exactly.
So it's yes, it's not your job and not your place to go in and start pounding the desk of the principal and tell them to shape up. At least in general, probably.
Right.
You may occasionally have to do that, but
yeah. Very rarely, though.
right.
You know, we really come from a place of collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to teach families how to do that so that they don't have to be emotional in this process, that they can actually have a conversation with a teacher, with a principal, with a vice principal, and have success.
Right, because basically everyone really fundamentally is sort of on the same page in that the school wants the kid to succeed as best they can, and the parents wish that for the kid also, typically. So it's, you know, it's typically, I suppose you're called in to deal with, these, well, like the old Cool Hand Luke movie says, you know, what we have here is a failure to communicate, and somehow they aren't communicating effectively with one another. So you have to be a specialist. But that involves, you thus have to know sort of the legal situations, the policies of the Department of Education, the resources and banks of resources and types of resources. You have to know sort of the whole social background, in a sense, because every family, of course, is unique, and families come at their issues differently.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, so I would think it requires incredible sensitivity on the part of you and your colleagues.
We definitely have to do our homework. We can't assume that just because we have these answers and resources, that every family is going to receive it the way we understand it. So we need to take the time to make sure that families know that where they live in their community and who they come in contact with in their community are a resource. So we also help them understand the process in the Department of Education. Now, understand that the Department of Education in Hawaii is one system.
Right.
And in the nation, there are many departments of education in other states. There's not just one. And we have one, and it's huge. So you would also think that because there's one, it's easier to be able to navigate because everybody's doing the same thing. And it's not like that.
No.
So if they travel or if they move from state to state, it's different. Even if they travel or they move from Oahu to Maui, different district, different way of doing things. Believe it or not, it's relearning a lot of the process, a lot of the procedures that go on just within the district. So teaching families how to be sensitive to that, to understand that everybody or every district is going to vary the way that they deliver special education in their district. It shouldn't have to be that way, but it is. So along with that, we are helping them navigate IDEA, or Individuals with Disabilities Education Act.
Right.
That's our nation's special education law. We are helping them navigate through that. We're helping them to navigate through Hawaii Administrative Rules, Chapter 60, which is the state's way of implementing IDEA. So many families think that they can't learn that stuff, and on the contrary, they can. they are the best advocates when they learn the foundation. And once they get it, they get it.
Sure, and they need to understand both sort of their rights, but also their responsibilities, and equally know something about what the school's responsibilities are. So that, because it's, again, there's roles for both parties. Both parties have constraints on them in terms of time, energy, finances. And again, I think you guys also help with finding financial assistance sometimes for people who need it for their, get special care for their kids.
Yes.
And that kind of stuff too.
So we have a persons in need grant, or what we call it PIN grant, and that is available to families of children with disabilities who live in the state of Hawaii who have a need. And maybe this need goes beyond what an individualized education program or an IEP can provide for these students. So there's an application process. They would turn that application in. There'd be a review of it. And if by chance we're able to support that family by looking at the IEP and how that particular service, let's say, or a piece of equipment can be obtained through the IEP process, we'll look at it. And if it's something that that families can advocate for on behalf of their children, then we'll help them. But we'll also look at it and say, well, you know what? This isn't going to be applicable through the IEP process. And maybe this is the grant that you need to access in order to get that particular service or that particular equipment, or, you know, it could be an assistant, somebody to help. Maybe it's a material, a software. It just depends on the need of those children.
Excellent. And we're going to follow up that in just another moment, but we're going to take a little bit of a break here. You're on Aloha United We Stand. I'm guest host Ethan Allen. I'm here with Rosie Rowe from the Learning Disabilities Association of Hawaii. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Donna Blanchard. I'm the host of Center Stage here on ThinkTech Hawaii. Center Stage airs every Wednesday at 2 o'clock, and of course you can check out our archives on YouTube or on ThinkTech Hawaii anytime you like. Why should you do that? Because this is an arts show that I believe is making a difference in lives. We talk with artists of various ilk. We talk with painters and writers, playwrights, novelists, poets, sculptors, dancers, you name it, directors, actors, of course. And we don't only talk about what people do, but we talk about how they do it. And my favorite part of the conversation, we talk about why they do it. And it's really common on this show to hear people say, wow, I didn't think about it that way. And it's very common to hear people afterwards who have seen the show say the same thing. And I hear all the time that people are inspired by the conversations that we have. So why don't you join us and be inspired too? That's Center Stage on Wednesdays at 2 o'clock. We'll see you Center Stage.
And you're back on Aloha United We Stand. I'm your guest host, Ethan Allen, filling in for Jay Fidel today. With me today is Rosie Rowe from the Learning Disabilities Association of Hawaii's Parent Training and Information Center. And we've been talking a little bit about some of the work that they do at the center, but I thought we might try now to get a little better overview of what the PTI sort of is made up of, how they do their work. So you have programs that you run, you have resources that you can offer, you have services that you provide.
Yes.
How do you sort of lay these things out so that people can understand what's available?
Okay, so as a Parent Training and Information Center, we are receiving a grant through the Office of Special Education Programs through the U.S. Department of Education, and falls under Special Education Law, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, Part D. So under that law, we are required to be in the state of Hawaii. There's only one PTI in the state of Hawaii, and that would be us. In other states in the nation, they have other PTIs, CPRCs. They may have more than one, depending upon, of course, that state. But for here in Hawaii, we have Learning Disabilities Association of Hawaii, who fills that shoe. And we provide training workshop training for both parents, for professionals, family members. We also do mentoring. We provide technical assistance. We also do advocacy. I wouldn't say that advocacy is the heartbeat of the agency, but it has been in the past. We've been trying to shift a little bit away from the advocacy, so to speak, and teach families about how to advocate for themselves, rather than taking on the bulk of the advocacy ourselves. I have staff that work with me on going out to schools statewide and providing that service to families, but we also realize that to be able to reach everyone, or to be able to reach more people, we have to teach people what we know. So we also have created, within the last 2 years, Parents as Partners program, where we have parents who have received services from us. They have gotten training from us. They continue to get training from us and are now helping other parents. So this volunteer program, they have decided that they want to pay it forward, so to speak. So they do that. They come in, they ask us, hey, I want to help another family. This is what I'm good at. And we know, because we've been working with them throughout the year, and we turn them around and help them to something as simple as help a parent organize their records. You can't even imagine how much paperwork is generated through one IEP meeting in a school. And parents walk away with loads of paperwork, folders upon folders, and in some cases, boxes upon boxes of paperwork just for their child with a disability. So we have other parents who will help other parents organize their folders.
Because they've gone through their own folders
They've
themselves.
already done this. They've already gone through it.
They know what the critical ones are, what can be sort of set aside for a while.
Right. And all we have to do is give them a plan. So this is the plan. You're going to get 5 tabs. You're going to tab them this way. You're going to organize it this way. Okay? And then they go out and they do it. Now, because as parents, I'm a parent too. I'm also a parent of a child with a disability who's now in college. And we are busy. We're busy people. There is a lot of stuff we do at home, from the time our children get home from school to the time they go to bed. There's a lot of things to do. So we understand that simply organizing your records is a huge feat. And so many parents come back to us just thanking us repeatedly about how this simple task of having another parent mentor another parent to organize their records means so much to them.
Well, I suspect too, you get then a sense of community, and parents do not feel so isolated. Many parents, I'm sure, feel, for whatever wrong reason, guilt, shame, whatever, about their situation.
Right.
They don't know how to handle it. Their
Right.
tendency is to sort of close in and turn away and try to maybe
Right.
deny anything's wrong. And having another parent open up to them, step forward, share their experiences, help them, share what you've done for them, share their learnings, then really helps these parents come out and say, oh, this is all right,
Yes.
it can be dealt with successfully, I can go forward, we can make a success out of this whole thing.
And what we've just done then is we've developed a network.
Right.
We've developed a network of parents networking with each other, contacting them without having to worry about contacting us or going through the agency, and they create their own social network outside of our agency. They're meeting up with each other at events. They're going with each other to other parent support groups. They are creating that for themselves just by a simple act of organizing a record. And that's really where we're going to be able to reach more people, is through this network of parents helping other parents, rather than just coming to the agency to ask Rosie to come with you
Sure.
to my school.
Sure, I mean, this is the difference between, giving somebody a fish and teaching them to fish, right?
Right.
In a sense.
Right.
You're creating fishermen.
Right. That's our hope, is that we can reach more people in the state of Hawaii through this program. It's also our hope that, over time, we can have more experts involved with us to provide, you know, sort of a contracted kind of activity for these parents. For example, many of these parents come with evaluative information about their child. I would say anywhere from 4 to 5 pieces of documents. And if they're not meeting with those doctors to help interpret what they just experienced with their child, they take those documents and they file them away. I would love to see one day the agency being able to have a in-kind psychologist, let's say, who just helps us meet with families to understand what the technicalities of that document they just received. Many of them get that information from their physicians when they walk away, but it's when they walk away that everything just kind of falls apart.
Right. So in a sense, your work is also trying sort of to raise the general overall literacy about these issues.
Yes.
So that more people understand more of what goes on, they understand the challenges, they understand
Yes.
the options, the choices that can be made,
Yes.
and how to go about making those. Yeah, so this is great. So to some extent, you must also then, I suspect, I'm just guessing, work with the schools and with the providers of these services, so that, because if you're trying to tell the parents that such and such services are available, then those service providers, one presumes you've talked with them so that you and they are on the same page, right?
We've tried to.
Mm-hmm.
That's our first desire, is to really be able to communicate with the school, with the private providers who maybe be an extension of the services that these children are getting. We try to. We also know that in the past, because of the type of advocacy we provided, we are also known as being a little adversarial. So walking into an IEP with a family member kind of puts the rest of the team on notice. And it's not, it kind of happens subconsciously. It's not something that we are promoting. It's more like a history that we've had in the past. Over time, we're trying to whittle away at that reputation and not have that kind of stuff, because what happens then is it interferes with the flow of communication.
Sure, it becomes an us against them kind of
Yeah,
thing. It should
and
be we're all together.
if we ever have to walk away from that, the families are still left
Right. Yeah.
with these teams.
Right.
So we haven't created anything positive here. We've just created another
Right. So it's
avenue for these families to have to go through.
right.
So we are working on that. We do have some really great relationships in a lot of the schools in the state. We have really great communication with principals. When they know that we're involved, they thank us. And that means, it means a lot to a lot of our parent consultants, and that's who would go with them, is the parent consultants would go. But it means a lot to them because we are not about telling any school what they're doing wrong. It's not about that. It's not about what you're doing wrong, Mr. Principal. It's not that you're running the school the wrong way or your special education department the wrong way. This is just about the need of this
Right.
student that's in your class.
Right. And again, your group can help the school see the parents' needs
Yes.
and the students' needs more clearly, help them see why the parent or the student is acting or reacting the way they are.
Yes.
And so, yes, you can really step in and provide this invaluable service, and hopefully both parties should be thankful for your
Right.
services.
Well, and I think what it demonstrates too to the family is that there's another way to do this. This is not the only way. Come in, pound the table, to fight, cry, get emotional about it. That there's more to it.
Right.
So we have to model sort of good behavior too, and we have to teach how to acknowledge the principal. This is his school. And for me to come in and tell him what to do or what not to do is not appropriate.
Right.
So, you know, I feel like if I can establish that with the person that's in charge of the school, we'll be okay. And the rest of the team, the regular education teacher, the special education teacher, the speech pathologist, the physical therapist, it'll all be okay,
Right.
because they'll see the relationship between the principal and myself, or my other parent consultants who are also doing the same thing.
Yeah. Like so much here in Hawaii, it does seem that relationships are very critical here, and that's, in addition to your other expertise, you have to be very good at building good, productive relationships.
Yes. Yeah,
That's
that's a whole nother workshop that we have available. We do. We have to teach parents. In fact, it's called Parents as Collaborative Leaders.
Oh, okay.
Teaching them how to lead. They have a team. They can lead.
Sure.
But they also can be collaborative. They can talk. They can communicate. But they also have to build a relationship, because this is the team that's going to be with their child until they graduate. If
Sure.
they're in high school, or if they're in middle school, they only have 2 years with this team, then they move on, so it's important.
Right, and even there's really a team beyond school. That is, there's other family members who have to be the siblings of the child,
Yes.
who have to learn this stuff too, and the parents have to understand how to explain that to older sibs, to younger sibs.
Yes.
Appropriate interactions, and yeah.
The dynamics of what happens in a family with a child with a disability is really unique. It takes a lot out of the siblings. I can remember growing up with my brother. He would be 58, but he has since passed away. But I can remember growing up as a sibling and just really despising everything about what he was about, because the attention was not on all of us, and there were 5 of us in our family. It was on him. Everything was about him. We had to make sure we picked restaurants that he could go to and malls that he could walk in, and it didn't matter where we went. It needed to be thoughtful. Sure. And selective, and I hated it.
Yeah.
And I know that these families are going through that now, especially since there's so much to offer outside of the home. There's malls and shopping centers and restaurants and all kinds of stuff, but not all families can go.
Right.
And so that plays a huge role in how the family can survive, can live life, on top of
Right.
now having to navigate through school.
Right.
That's a lot for a family. It's a lot, and especially if they're not getting the services that they need. Mom and dad see some of the problems that are occurring in the classroom with the teacher. They see the relationship being tarnished, and they don't know what to do. They just want to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
So many families choose to go to due process through the special education window. Many families decide that enough is enough, that they are going to take their children out of public schools and put them in private schools. It really is a personal choice. Sure. We support those families who make those choices for themselves, but we also want to do what we can to get them past it first. So if a family came to us and said, I need to go to due process, do you have an attorney that you could recommend? The first thing I say, and the rest of my staff, is, well, no, but we have a resource website that you could go to, and there's a selection of attorneys that you can go to. But may I ask, why is it that you want to go?
Sure.
What's going on?
Yeah, you want to defuse it, deal with it at the lowest, sort of the most collaborative, least adversarial.
If we can
level.
change the pathway, it would be beneficial to them.
Sure.
Going through due process and the procedure to get there is extremely draining on the family. Mm-hmm. It's extremely draining. It doesn't matter who wins, whether the family wins or if the department wins, it's extremely draining. And in the end of the day, you do have to return to that school that you're filing due process against. So it's not always the best path, but we understand that families have to do what they have to do in order to feel like they're doing something.
Absolutely. And we're gonna continue this, and this is being a rich discussion, and we're gonna look to the future as soon as we come back from a little break. You're watching Aloha United We Stand. Rosie Rowe from the Disabilities Association of Hawaii's Parent Training and Information Center is with me today. I'm your guest hosting for Jay Fidel. I'm Ethan Allen, and we'll be right back after a short break.
Aloha, my name is Paul Jackson, better known as PJ, and my local interest is in sports. I have my own sports radio show at KWAI AM 1080 that you can stream live. I also have my own website, pjsportsradio.com. We have live guests in studio, and we talk about discussions and topics that everyone wants to know locally here on the islands. We cover everything from surfing to basketball to whatever's going on locally, sports-wise. We try to do our best and cover the topics in depth as much as we can. Once again, thank you for joining PJ here on Hawaii Sports Update. Mahalo.
This is Alice Lee Hagan, host of ThinkTech Hawaii Business Education Spotlight. My show here at ThinkTech Hawaii is every Thursday from 3 to 4 in the afternoon. I bring in interesting guests from Hawaii, the mainland, and hopefully international guests in the future. Do join us on Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m. ThinkTech Hawaii Business Education Spotlight. Aloha.
Aloha, I'm Hunter Hevlin, host of Sustainable Hawaii here at ThinkTech Hawaii. You can tune in every week on Thursday at 2 p.m. to see interviews with sustainability professionals from around the state and even further abroad, learning about activities with water management, food security, waste management, and a whole host of other fascinating opportunities to get engaged with making a greener island. So if you're interested in making the transition from consuming individuals to communities of producers, check us out every Thursday.
And you're back on Aloha United We Stand. I'm your guest host, Ethan Allen, filling in for Jay Fidel today. With me today in the ThinkTech studios is Rosie Rowe from the Disabilities Association of Hawaii's Parent Training and Information Center. We've been talking about the PTI, as she calls it, and the various things that they do, the ways they try to help the parents, the families, the teachers, the school staff, try to work to help best align all the good resources that are out there so that children with developmental problems and learning disabilities can thrive. And so I want to sort of maybe take a little bit of a look towards the future. What do you see, sort of, what are the trends now? Where is this whole issue going? Is it growing? Are things getting better? Or things going downhill?
Well, right at this moment, the Department of Hawaii, our Department of Education, is going through some changes at the state level. They have some new people in positions that then affect the district level positions. So there's a lot of movement going on right now. There's some changes, good changes to improve the Department of Education, especially the Special Education Department. So we're hopeful that the changes that the department is making is going to really impact the people that it affects, which is down below, the district level people, down to the school level people, and then of course the parents. We are anxious to see how these changes are gonna come about, and we're anxious for it to quickly end so that people have a connection. They can start building their relationships. They can start understanding the procedures, the processes of how special education is delivered in the state of Hawaii. Without that stability, right at this moment, it's very unstable. There's not that one point of entry to talk to somebody and try to get those issues, whether it be at the family level, the school level, or the district level, resolved, because they have been making some adjustments. So we're patiently waiting for that and want to be a part of helping them resolve anything.
Sure.
We would like to, in the future, work alongside the department to really get those families who have not received services from us. We want to support them. And so we're hoping that over time, the department will see the importance of the PTI and their Department of Education to be working together to help bring families together, to bring parents and professionals to communicate better. That's been a goal for us for a couple of years now.
Sure, but I mean, it's a bit like what Michael Fullen talks about in his book, Change Forces, that the whole phenomenon of implementation dip.
Oh.
Whenever you have a system that's stable and then you change it, even if the change is geared to make it better, there's usually a dip and things get worse.
Yes.
And yes, now suddenly you don't know who you should be talking to about
Yes.
this issue or that issue or this particular challenge, and that's all become unclear
Yeah.
because there's people changing positions, changing roles and responsibilities, redefining how things are done. So yes, one has to sort of patiently wait through that implementation dip
Yes.
and have a little faith that things will get better, and of course advocate for they're getting better.
Yeah.
You know,
And that's what we're hoping to. I mean, you're exactly correct. There has been a big dip. And so in doing so, we are, trying to make connections with the people who have just got into those positions. We've been trying to keep them informed about problem areas within the state that we know exist and have continued to exist. We just want to be a source of information for them. Because they're not going to have all eyes everywhere.
Sure.
And so because we are statewide, and we are in many, many schools across the state, there is a lot of information that we have access to on a regular basis.
Right. And plus this whole field of learning and understanding the brain and how the brain works is very rapidly changing. There are
Yes.
huge federal and international projects now geared towards understanding how the nervous system works, how people actually learn, what are some of the barriers that various conditions impose upon some learners.
Yes.
And that's changing the way that you think about helping people, right, in some of these cases.
Yes, because the research is so fluid, it really is demanding on our staff to make sure that they have gotten the most current and relevant information, which we are fortunate to have a region technical assistance center and a national technical assistance center that supports all PTIs across the nation. So we get to connect with those folks who are also involved in the research, or maybe they're a part of legislation on Capitol Hill, or within other states. We're able to connect with those states to see, how are you folks doing that, and what kind of research have you found? That's the benefit of us being a PTI, is that we do have good support both nationally and within our region.
Right, so it's in a sense sort of parallel to what you put the parents in touch with one another so they can network effectively at the same time you are sort of modeling
Yes.
this by networking with your peers across the nation and around the world effectively, and understanding that this networking has to go up and down, has to go into the realm of scientific research, say public
Yes.
policy, law, service providers. All these different pieces have better and worse practices basically going on in them, and you always just want to keep raising the bar and making the whole system better.
Right.
That's certainly got to be a big challenge.
Yeah.
So where do you see this going? I mean, do you see the situation? I guess where would you like to see it in, say, 5 years? How would you like to see the situation be different?
I think, I can say confidently that although that there's some, there's going to be some ebbing and flowing within the Department of Education, we really don't exist because of the Department of Education. We exist on behalf of them too. We are able to foresee that what they're going through now is just for now. That I think that over time, when things pan out and they become stable, and there's people in positions who are going to help their area, and there's many areas of special education that need to be considered, I believe confidently that things will get better. At this time, families are seeking us out to get more information about why. Why is this happening? Why can't I get this service? Why can't I access the state level staff? Why can't I get a district level person to help me sort this out with my school? So as much as possible, we try to stay connected with the department so that we know what kind of changes are in store, so we can prepare families for, okay, this might happen. Just want to let you know, so this might not be a good time for you to schedule this meeting or to make any changes in your child's medication. Because on the larger scale, maybe environmentally, things are not going to be okay at that district or at that school. But really, being more informative with families and the way research is changing really helps us to redirect their attention, maybe, because as there's 14 other eligibility categories in IDEA. And so when you look at all the research for all these categories, from multiple disabilities to autism, the buzzword can be autism today, it could be ADHD tomorrow.
Sure.
The research and the information that we have to offer and to share with families helps to steer them to look at what the unique needs of their children are, so that they can take their eyes off of the department right now and really look at the unique needs of their own child.
Excellent, excellent. And this work, well, you've so nicely and eloquently outlined some of the challenges of it. It must be very rewarding when things work out, when you see that you have been able to help a child improve their position, basically put them in line with some resources, put the parents in touch with services they need, help a school be better able to serve and provide an education for a child. Can you say something about some of the rewards, some of your successes?
Yes. Actually, what's really exciting for us as an agency is that now we have I think a couple shows ago, you had our School Readiness Project coordinator on, and she was talking about that program, and that's also a part of our agency. But what's exciting about it is that they're all about early intervention. So once they can identify maybe a potential 2- and 5-year-old who might have a disability, who may have an area of concern, we're able to get them to the resources that they need, whether it be their primary care physician, whether it be through the evaluation process, through the Department of Education. So the early identification piece is kind of a positive, really exciting pathway that we are trying to enhance as we go year to year. We are now able to go Oahu-wide, whereas in years past, we were only on the Waianae coastline. So now that we're Oahu-wide, we can reach other underserved areas on the island. In addition, on the Parent Training Information Center, or the staff that work with me as parent consultants, they've also been cross-trained to be able to do screening as well. So they too can go out and provide early identification screening for 2- and 5-year-olds. And so the capacity to build on that for us is exciting, because it can really lead to really getting more children identified early, and maybe even avoiding the special education route.
Absolutely. Wow. It sounds very exciting. We, however, are out of time, so we're going to have to wrap it up. Rosie Rowe from the Learning Disabilities Association of Hawaii's Parent Training Information Center has been with us today and giving us a great deal of information about the work they do and the importance of that work. It's been wonderful having you here, Rosie. I'm your guest host for Aloha United We Stand, Ethan Allen, filling in for Jay Fidel today. Hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.